So in this particular video, I'll talk about the loads function from the JSON module. Okay. In the previous video, I have talked about JSON and how to work with JSON, and after that, I have talked about the dump/the dumps function. Now in this video, I'll show you the loads function and the different parameters that it has. I'll import JSON, which is done. So now we'll do json.load or loads. So before loading, it's the main thing is we need to get some kind of data. So we can see that let's print this function, and yeah. So first name is my name, last name is my last name. So now json.load. Let's use the loads functionality. All the parameters of load and loads are almost same apart from the file pointer that is present. For example, in load we can see everything is same, like CLS, object hooks, everything is the same. So okay, so we have S and star and everything is same, but in load only the thing we have is the file pointer, okay, instead of S, and apart from that the remaining parameters are also same. Fine. So now let's consider load. In our case, easy to demonstrate, but if both are easy to demonstrate. So for example, if I want json.loads JSON data, fine, and if I do shift enter, this is how it looks in Python. Now it might not be very clear. Let's get this as status as true and value as maybe 0.99. It should work. Okay, I think this is good. Okay, let me remove this and make this in one line. Yeah. So now if I load this, so you can see this is a particular Python dictionary. The T of status is changed from small t to capital T. Okay, so this is a Python dictionary and this is the particular JSON data. Now let's take a look at the different parameters that are present. For example, if I do json.load JSON data, now if I do shift enter, we can see there are few of the parameters. Okay, I mean there are already few of them, and in that also I have taken a look on almost like parse, float, parse, and okay. So what I need to do is let's take a look on the parse float. What it actually does. So generally in our JSON, okay, so parse float, what it will do, it will try to find out the floating point numbers that are present, and when it find out the floating point number, it will do what we ask it to do. So here I have 0.99. If I do parse float, now I'm targeting this particular value because this is a floating value, and if I ask it to call a particular function, change to integer, okay. So if I do this, I also need to define that particular function. Parse to float will be called every time a floating number is encountered. And by the way, floating number, like, it is encountered in terms of string. Let's see what I meant by that. If I do def change to int, and if I give s, okay, and if I print it, nothing, just I'm printing it. So if I do shift and enter, and if I again do shift and enter over here, are you able to understand what is happening, what actually happened? It encountered 0.99, okay, it called this particular function. This function was called, one argument was sent, and it was printed. Okay, so now it became 0.99. So that's how it works. Now if you want to convert this particular thing into an integer, it's very simple. And by the way, the 0.99 is a string, it's not a float also. How we can verify that? If I do type of s, and if I again enter this particular function and enter, you can see this is a string, it's not even a float. So what we need to do to convert this particular float value into an integer? It's simple. Just we need to do int of s, and if I execute, it's giving little bit of error because it's not an integer, it's a string. So it should be uh, I need to convert that into an integer, okay, which is a float and a string. And if I do shift enter and enter, are we getting anything? We got 0. Okay, let's change this to something. Let's give it a value, maybe 1. Now it is 1.99. This is also 1.99. Now if I enter this and enter this, this becomes 1. That decimal part is omitted, that 0.99 part is omitted. Okay, I hope you guys are able to understand what I am trying to say. So anytime a particular floating number is encountered, it calls this particular function, okay, and it performs that particular operation and it returns a result. Since we are not returning anything, that's the reason it's giving none into our JSON object, okay, JSON string. Now we need to pass something. Instead of printing, I will return it. When I return it, if I do shift enter and shift enter, you can see the value is changed to 1. That's the only thing I'm saying. So this, like this, we are targeting the decimal, and we also can target integers. So we, for example, if I copy this whole thing, if I target this whole thing, let's get an integer first. Maybe integer value will pass something as 67. Okay, pretty simple, right? So we also have an integer. Now how we can target this particular integer? Okay, so it's very simple. Instead of parse float, we will tell this as parse int. That's it. Now what this parse int will do, it will target our particular integer. Now let's not do something complicated or like that. Let's just convert this particular integer into floating point number. So any integer that we encountered will be converted into a floating point number. So how we do that? So it's very simple. Just pass the function name. We don't have to call the function, just pass the name, it will be called automatically, and one argument will be passed. So this is equivalent to float of 67.0. Okay, this particular thing is equivalent to this. So let's verify that. So I'll pass my JSON data, which is this, and I'll pass the parse int as float. Okay, so any integer I encounter will be converted into a float. If I do shift enter, see, our integer is now 67.0, which is same as this one. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show. So this is how we can target data types. Now there are few more of them, like for example, there is also called as the parse constant. Okay, so this is we also have parse constant, so if you want you can do check a look. So what it will do, if specified, will be called with one of the following strings: infinity, negative infinity, positive infinity, none. This can be used to raise an exception if invalid JSON numbers are encountered. So this is used to target negative infinity, infinity, and none. Okay. So let's verify this quickly. For example, I'm not getting good names. I'll keep this as constant. Let's make this as enter constant. Okay. And I'll pass the value as constant. I'll pass the value as infinity. I guess this is considered infinity. Yeah, it was considered infinity, but Python was not like it. It is considered as a string. Let's remove this infinity part. Then we should get, yeah, well, okay, we are getting INF. That's great. Can we target that particular value? I have not tested it. Let's see. So now instead of parse float, I'll give parse constant. And what we are going to do, let's just call a function just to make sure we are targeting the particular value or not. Okay, I'll just print s. I'll see what is being passed. See, it is passing infinity only. So when I am parsing this as fun, infinity is passed, so we are targeting a particular value. So yes, parts constant targets infinity. So if we give negative infinity, that should also work. Negative infinity, negative infinity, negative infinity, and it should give us negative infinity. See, it also works. Even I am guessing even nan will also work because it's mentioned in documentation. So that these are the few of the parameters that are tested with. There are a few more. If you want, you can do explore. Okay, there are more. I don't know the scenarios like where I'm supposed to use object hooks, object pair hooks. Maybe if I get some kind of expertise on this, I'll make a video on object hook and object pair hook, and that's it. All kinds of documentation will be in the video description. Okay, so please do check them out, and if you like this video, do press that like button, and as always, I'll see you in an awesome upcoming programming video.